Okay, let me continue back to where we were talking about that part of the world, because as you all know, there was a big incident in Afghanistan last week where UN workers were killed because Reverend Yosemite Sam here in America burned a Qur'an, which no one thinks is a good idea. But, you know, I'm very disturbed at the way Western people, like General Petraeus, who I'm an admirer of, I think he's a great general. He didn't start those wars. He's just trying to finish them. And he does more before 9 a.m. than I do all year. But his statements, we condemn in particular the action of an individual who recently burned the Holy Koran. We hope the Afghan people understand that this is just the action of the small number of individuals. Burning the holy book was hateful. It was intolerant. It was extremely disrespectful. We condemn it. All this talk about the people who burned the Quran and nothing about the people who reacted in such a stupid way. We are always blaming the victim and not holding them, not most Muslims, but at least a large part of the Muslim culture that doesn't condemn their people.
There's one other person, Karzai. This was done, and there was radio silence for weeks. Karzai, because he wanted to stir up the Afghan people, gave a speech on the Thursday before inciting this, and then the imams the next day sent people out into the street. Karzai, our friend supposedly, who Americans are dying for him, he's the one who caused all this. That is the corruption in my mind.
I mean, Petraeus says what he has to say to try and protect more American troops, right? His interest is to make sure that there are not more incidents like the one against the UN compound. So he's going to say what he thinks will try and calm the temperature. He's not going to go out there and condemn all Muslims for not speaking out against their fellow Muslims, because that he doesn't think is going to help him. But I think there's a kind of real problem here. This is not just a nice academic idea. Wouldn't it be nice if there were more moderate Muslim voices? If there are not more moderate Muslim voices, this could affect our national security. You look at a country like Pakistan, where moderation has been literally killed. The voices of moderation have been literally killed in the last 3 months. That's a real problem for the United States. We do not want more countries with nuclear weapons ending up like places like Pakistan because moderate Muslims do not speak out against extremism. And that's what's happened in this case.
Listen to Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham's quote. I wish we could find a way to hold people accountable. Free speech is a great idea, but we're in a war. I get really nervous when people say free speech is great, but. Especially when the war is endless.
Right.
You know, it's appalling, and you sort of see from Graham and McCain this notion that essentially this war that has failed, and we don't even know what it's for at this point, must actually curtail all our civil liberties at home, and especially the right to do something offensive and disgusting and blasphemous. It comes down to blasphemy, Bill. That's what it comes down to.
Well,
and this country, thank God,
what it comes down to is that there is one religion in the world that kills you when you disagree with them. And they say, look, we are a religion of peace, and if you disagree, we'll fucking cut your head off.
Yeah.
And nobody calls them on it, or very few people call them on that. You know, it's like if Dad is a violent drunk and beats his kids, you don't blame the kid because he set Dad off. You blame Dad because he's a violent drunk.
It was kind of striking in that incident of how few people pointed out, are we really just accepting that burning individuals, as they did, is somehow acceptable, civilized behavior? This guy in Florida, the nutcase, obviously, there are lots of nutcases, but that response shows something deeply dysfunctional about society.
Bush used to always talk about the soft bigotry of low expectations. That's what this is. When you say, well, this is what the Muslims are going to do if you burn a Koran, they're going to fucking kill some people, you know.
See, that's why
that's bigotry.
But Bill, when you say the Muslims, I think you have to be more specific to that.
A small percentage who are killing, a larger percentage who are not yelling out against.
Not necessarily Muslims in the West, not necessarily Muslims in America, but Muslims in a place like Afghanistan.